Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainal. The title of the video is The US Dollar Gets Weaker Every Day. Right, and pretty much, we're at the end of Esau's rulership, Esau's kingdom. And this devil has problems everywhere. Right? He has problems of war. He has problems in the streets, with upwards of people. He has problems everywhere, war. I said war, All right, so this is Job 18:5. It says, yet the light of the wicked shall be put out, the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, his candle shall be put out with him. Right, Esau, Edom is the border of wickedness, right? You grab that. See, it says that Malachi 1:4, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord Yahweh have indignation forever. Right? So in Job 9:24 says the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and the current rulers of the world, right, is Esau, Edom. The world looks to America, right, basically a white man, for how they should govern themselves, right? And we see that happening, but they're the wicked, and the world is slowly figuring that part out right there, right? So it says, the light, Job 18:6, the light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snares laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. Let me get this NLT. Right, that's the point. NLT, terrorists surround the wicked and trouble them at every step. Right, and they have a lot of, terrorists. First of all, the Israelites are waking back up to who they are. They pay billions of dollars, right, to stop that fact from being known. What we're getting into, the dollars getting weaker. They paid billions and did wars to stop that from happening, right? All right, so let's get these videos, a few little videos here.
The dollar to remain the world's reserve currency.
What? And I'm not just talking about the value of our currency. I'm talking about our currency being used throughout the world.
You want it to remain. You want the dollar to remain the world's reserve currency.
Well, I think it's bigger than losing any war.
In 31 days, everything changes for the U.S. dollar, and Trump knows it. By the way, he knows we're not talking about some vague, far-off.
Right. So we don't know too much about dates, but we do know what the scriptures say, and pretty much the end is here. The end has manifested itself, right? And all these things point towards the birth pains, right? Jacob's trouble, and the city's been troubled. It says, I just get to the point. Right here, 5. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 5. It says, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, the end is manifest. Even so the times also the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. So that the effects of signs at the end is what we're witnessing, right? Which I also will get into in Ezekiel 7, because it says, to the end watcheth for thee, right? And that's pretty much what's happening to Esau. The end is here on Esau.
Threat here. We're talking about a countdown clock that has already been ticking. Trump is already kind of gearing up for this. He's been hinting at it over the past few weeks. So in 31 days, the Fed takes action to further weaken the U.S. dollar, slashing interest rates. They know that trouble is on the horizon. That's the only reason they're doing it. And while most of the media is still asleep at the wheel, the truth is the dollar's grip on the world is slipping fast. Americans are suffering. And honestly, That was the backdrop of this week's meeting with President Trump and President Putin. A declining U.S. dollar, the rise of the BRICS nations. Zero Hedge, by the way, just published a damning, really eye-opening report about the U.S. dollar and BRICS nations using gold to get around the U.S. dollar. They're building an entirely new trade and financial system right before our eyes. Putin walked into this meeting in a much stronger position than he's ever had before. So today I want to break all of this down for you, all of these news items that have happened.
Right. This points towards prophecy too, This is, of course, talking about Esau, Edom, Habakkuk 2:4. It says, behold, his soul, which lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, right, was his policy, his laws, right? He did proud man. Now that keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heaped unto him all people. So this is what the devil did, went out conquering, setting up embassies and lands, spreading his abominable laws, right, on people. Habakkuk 2:6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long, and to him that laid himself with thick clay. Because you got what Trump is doing now is like trying to push his power over all the people, on these different nations and what they should and, do and what they can't do. And they're now saying how long, how long it's going to continue. And then they say on top of that, you have this thick clay, which is the debt, which Russia hinted at multiple times with America having these different treaties and whatnot, and then leaving the treaties. And Russia is like, well, before you leave, can you pay off your side of the debt? For whatever treaty that, pretty much Esau probably set up himself, and now he's just done with it, And that's why he transgresses by these different treaties. And this thick clay goes into the word abatya, right, which is the debt. And they're talking about it. So just like it says here in the scripture, now the world is talking about it.
Strong's H, 5671, Avteet.
Right. So heavy debts. And that's what America has. The debt clock hit above 37 trillion. And the world is, was like, yo, what's going on? So bad times are ahead.
Over the past few days and where we're headed in the next month. We're going to look at what's happening inside the United States right now with the Fed, what's happening globally with the rise of the BRICS nations, why central banks are buying so much gold like there's no tomorrow. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how I'm personally preparing for this recession that is likely coming in the next few months, even though the mainstream media doesn't want you to be aware of it because they make so much money. The mainstream media makes so much money on trying to trick you into believing that everything is fine. Really, they do. So let's start with what just happened in Washington, D.C. That was a big story that I saw almost no coverage of. Some of the financial press covered it, but pretty much everyone else ignored it. President Trump appointed Stephen Miran to the Federal Reserve. Now the press tried to play this off as some kind of temporary appointment. No big deal. But let me be clear. Miran is not just a placeholder. This guy has been very open about his views. He believes the U.S. dollar is too strong and that America needs a weaker dollar to stay competitive and to deal with our insane debt load, which just hit $37 trillion last week. You need a weaker dollar. That's the only way. You got to devalue the currency. How else are you going to afford paying $1 trillion on interest payments alone on that $37 trillion in debt? The answer is you're not. That's what he believes. And Trump hinted at this about a week ago when he said he was okay with a weakening U.S. dollar because that means we make more money.
Well, I'm a person that likes a strong dollar, but a weak dollar makes you a hell of a lot more money.
So this is coming, guys. Think about what that means. The U.S. government is basically admitting the dollar is going to be taken down a peg, maybe several pegs. And the markets already see it coming. Everybody is betting on a rate cut in September. Rate cuts weaken the dollar. And when that happens, money starts pouring into hard assets like gold. But it's not just the Fed. Here in the United States, something remarkable is happening that the mainstream media barely mentions. States are starting to bring back real money. Yeah, 5 states in the United States have now passed laws making gold and silver legal tender. This isn't symbolic. It's a revolt against fiat money, against government currency. Basically a middle finger to the US dollar, against the idea that pieces of paper with nothing behind them should be trusted forever. So lawmakers are saying out loud what we all know. The dollar's days as the thing we all rely on are coming to an end. Listen to Colonel McGregor on our show just a few weeks ago, talking about the undercurrent of everything that's happening right now as the BRICS nations rise.
Remember, Putin just a few weeks ago spoke to the leaders of all the major industries and firms in the private sector in Russia and said it's time to come to terms with reality that these sanctions are never going to go away. The West is not going to finally wake up and turn back towards us and recognize that we're not the enemy. So we have to build bridges elsewhere. Those bridges are being built. It's called BRICS. And of course, you have the other supporting organizations like the Shanghai Cooperation Council and other entities, but they're all part of the same. Let's move away from the United States. Let's get out from under these people. Let's no longer be dependent upon them so that we can live in peace. In other words, in a very interesting way, the Chinese, the Russians, and the whole global South and everybody is practicing a form of containment towards us.
But it gets worse. Globally, central banks are buying gold at a record pace. We're talking 4 straight years of over 1,000 tons of gold.
Right. So as you can see, the nations are moving away from the dollar.
In 1944, one currency started to dominate the world: the US dollar. For about 80 years, it's been the foundation of global trade and the weapon of American sanctions and the center of US economic power. But in 2025, that power is under attack. President Trump has just threatened 100% tariffs on some of the world's fastest growing economies unless they do one thing: stop what he calls a war on the US dollar.
It's an attack on the dollar, and we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar.
Now, these are not small countries. The BRICS nations include Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and many more. And they now account for roughly 56% of the world's population and close to half of global GDP. And 2 of those member countries, India and Brazil, are getting hit with tariffs as high as 50% on their exports to the US that are worth billions and billions of dollars a year. Now, in response, they want to fight back.
It's already bad. You don't want the situation to get any worse.
They want to match US tariffs, redirect trade to other markets, and they want to form stronger ties within the bloc.
During the call, the Indian Prime Minister and President Lula discussed ways to deepen their strategic partnership, including trade, technology, energy, defense, agriculture, health, and people-to-people ties.
BRICS is accelerating a multiple-year effort to lower their reliance on the dollar. And the way they want to do that is by trading more in local currencies, building new payment systems, and even talking about a shared currency for cross-border commerce.
I don't need to remain subordinate to the dollar.
And if they succeed,
Ezekiel 7, verse 1, it says, "Moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, came unto me, saying, Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, unto the land of Israel, and the end is come upon the 4 corners of the land." Right, and we understand that our end, already came. Right, we're using this for Esau Edom because the judgment is now on Esau Edom. Right, and it's clear as day. We're just prophesying about these things. Bringing down strongholds. Lamentation 4 in 21, it says, "Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee." So that same cup that we drunk of, right? We had to give the punishment and whatnot. We had to drink that cup. Esau Edom is going to drink that cup also. Now it's his turn. We're pretty much at the end now, where Esau's kingdom, his age, his rulership is ending, and ours is about to begin. It said, "The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked." It says, "The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion." Right, this goes to the Israelites, of course. It says, "He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sin." So now it's on Esau Edom, right? I was at Ezekiel 7. It says, verse 3, it says, "Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. In mine I shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and you shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua." It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come, and end is come, the end is come, and watch it for thee, behold, it is come." Right, and like I said earlier, when you get his word, watch it, because it has begun,
Strong's H, 6974. Coots.
All right, so it's to awake, wake up, to awaken, arouse, show signs of waking, awake. Right, and then I went to the root word here.
Strong's H, 3364. Yakats.
It says to awake, awaken, become active. So that's pretty much what happens. The end has become active on Esau Edom, right? The troubles, right, that the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua has written in scriptures is, being played out. There was one in Luke 21. We grab that. It says Luke 21:22. It says, "For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled." Right. So everything written is going to be fulfilled. Ultimately, Babylon is going to be destroyed. And everything that comes with that. Let's grab this right here. Because along with the dollar weakening, that's going to cause inflation. Higher prices. All right, so let me grab it from. So this is 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 18. It says, "And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the afflictions of basically Zion shall be fulfilled." Right, and I just gave you that in Lamentations 4. So now it's Esau Edom's turn to get the whooping. It says, "And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished," right, and the current age and whatnot is vanishing away, right? The current rulership of Esau Edom says, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. Right, so we have the truth, we have the understanding. The books are open, right? The prophecies are being fulfilled. It says, "And the children of a year old," right? And these tokens goes into what? The prophecy, the sign, all written in scriptures. It says, "And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The woman with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old. They shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." Right, so it's going into trouble, regarding the food. And even in Isaiah, it tells the women to be, that are at ease to worry about this. But of course, hey, everybody got to eat, right? This is Isaiah 32:11. It says, "Tremble ye women that are at a dark It says, "Tremble ye women that are at ease, be troubled ye careless ones, strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine." Yeah, you're gonna lament for it because you can't get to it. It won't be there. Okay. Bread might be $500 or something. They showed it in some of these movies, where you want to buy something and it basically costs an arm and a leg to buy it. That's what happened with a weakened dollar. It says, "Beat your breast in sorrow for your bountiful farms and your fruitful grapevines." It says in verse 13, "Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and bearers, yeah, upon all the houses of joy in the joy city." Right. So that's what's going to happen to America now, right? It says, "Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks." Yeah. See, so this same judgment is prophesied to happen to Babylon the Great, with the complete destruction, where wild animals will dwell here in Babylon the Great once it's ultimately destroyed. But you got to go through the birth pains, all right, and with this dollar collapsing, that's what it's going to bring. So Shalom, just going into the news, quick update on that. Shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.